What's up, guys? Q Perfect here, and this is Everything West Ham, where everything we talk about is West Ham. And I am doing now the two-player pick championship edition, where I will go through the 24 teams in the championship and choose which two players realistically and what West Ham need position-wise, what I feel like would benefit us and going on in the future. Um, So it's basically me picking two teams, two players from each team, and bringing them over to West Ham, making them better. What I feel we need. So we'll start with Birmingham, and you know what? Birmingham this season they have a really good squad. Um, so it was quite tough, but I've gone for two youngsters for their team, and yeah, one is Jordan James, centre mid centre midfielder for him. Big future ahead, I think. Already in the Wales national team. Um, Last season and the season before, he was just breaking into it. Season before, last season, he was probably one of their best players, one of their key players. And yeah, so he's picked number one from Birmingham. Just going there. He's a good midfielder, and I feel like it's someone we could bring in to maybe as backup first of all and try and break in. But yeah, Jordan James, the first pick. Second pick is George Hall, and as I said about Jordan James, last season George Hall was just breaking into Birmingham, and he actually looked really good, looked really comfortable, looked like he was already playing for years and years and years. Um, so yeah, he's another one. He can play in centre mid, but he can also he's an all round midfielder. I feel like he could also do a defensive job. He could do an attacking job. He could play on the right wing. He could play on the left wing. He's one of them. I feel like he can give a lot more if you give him that opportunity. But we move on to Blackburn. There wasn't really too much like last season. I would have picked Ben Brereton Diaz. But yeah, this year is Adam Wharton, 19-year-old, another centre mid. Because I do feel we're lacking now. Declan Rice is gone. Another centre mid, Adam Wharton, 19 years of age. Has an older brother, Scott Wharton, who's still coming at the club, 25, but I feel like he won't be there next season. A lot of people are after Adam Wharton. He's a lot of talk that he might not be there by the end of the transfer window. And I hope we're one of the clubs that are chasing him. But yeah, Adam Wharton, yeah, centre mid, 19 years old, really good player, high potential. Um, Potentially he could be in the next few years. Could be an England player. Could be an England player, and it would be good to see because I actually think he's very talented player. Um, if you've been watching my videos, that's my second pick is Harry Pickering. It is a goalkeeper. Um, the only reason I chose him, I think we do need a goalkeeper. Fabianski's in his last year again. I don't think he's going to play that much. Areola needs good backup. Angang is not hasn't turned out the player that we thought he would, and yeah, so it's just a choice there. It's just a goalkeeping choice. So yeah, Pickering move on to Bristol City. This one speaks volumes. I think everyone would have picked him. I think everyone would pick him, even the whole 20 Premier League teams. I think they would have him in their team starting just for depth bench. But Alex Scott, there were talks at West Ham were after him. That's kind of died down now, and maybe by the time this video comes out, he probably would have already moved. There are talks of Bournemouth going in for him, Wolves going in for him. I don't know what's going on with West Ham this season, but we're looking at players and nothing's happening. But Alex Scott, I mean, I don't really need to say any more on this, but he is, yeah, he's a future. He's a talisman. He's definitely a future England starter. Um, if yeah, he's up there. I can see him being one of the better players. But second pick for Bristol City, he went two ways really, because it could have been between two players. I would cut Cameron Pring purely because we need a left back. There's talks of Aaron Cresswell going, but the only reason I did it is because there is a few left backs in this list that I feel is a better choice. So I've gone for Tommy Conway. Um, I got a feeling he's got a very very big season ahead of him this season. He done a lot for him last season. I got a funny feeling Bristol City will do well again this season. They might even reach playoffs. Don't I mean don't put your money down. It's just a prediction for me. It's opinion. I think they will be up there. But Tommy Conway, good, it's a good striker, a young striker, and again, it's what we need. I think if Antonio's going, if Scamacca's going, we're going to be left with one striker, and that's Danny Ings, and Mubama. But yeah, so that's them two. We'll move on with Cardiff. This one is, I want to be quite short on this one. There wasn't too much to choose from here. Because a lot of the players they signed are all new players, and a lot of such players I would have said are leaving, and I wanted to choose players like that were definitely going to be there. But yeah, Mark McGuinness was one. It's just getting them off the list, and Ruben Colwell, both of them to me, because it's a two-player pick. Realistically, we wouldn't go for them, and realistically, they wouldn't get in our team, and I don't think it would benefit us. But it was just two players that I had to pick, and so it was Mark McGuinness and Ruben Colwell. Coventry, again, we start getting, I mean, Coventry done well last season, but if again it's picking players that would help us out at the end, like someone we could help with the depth and that. But I'll go for a player who is actually a former West Ham player, and bit quoting from Arsene Wenger, like he was years above his playing time. Obviously, it didn't work out at West Ham. It didn't work out at Arsenal, but Coventry's Ben Sheaf. I actually rated him. I was a bit annoyed when we got rid of. Well, I say got rid of him when Arsenal took him from us and they did nothing with him. But Ben Sheaf, he's one of them. You put him in any position, he'll do his job. And purely for that, and because West Ham, he's a West Ham fan. Yeah, Ben Sheaf. And then there's Gustavo Hamer. Yeah, the Dutch centre midfielder. Again, a lot of these players will be centre mid because it is just filling the gaps. But yeah, Gustavo Hamer. That need I say more? That's them two done. Huddersfield. They had a very poor season last season, but I'm choosing someone again. An ex West Ham player, an ex Youth Academy player. I thought he'd done all right. He's in the Wales setup. I think he might have a big future again with Warnock in charge. But Sorba Thomas, I think he's one of them. He's got a bit of bite about him, and I didn't really know too much of him until we started playing for Huddersfield, until we started getting his big break, and now he's in the Welsh national team. But yeah, Sorba Thomas, and then another goalkeeper, Lee Nichols. It feels like he's been around for years, and purely this is just backup for us. Just bringing him, it's just backup. That's all. Let's move on the whole. Going for a striker here and a centre mid. So Oscar Esputian, I mean, he done all right last season for how they whole finish and how they played, and like, yeah, he done all right. He just got into double figures. He's quite young, and I do like that them kind of flair players. So he would be someone I would definitely bring in just off the bench, not necessarily start. I know it depends. It depends how well he does. But yeah, him, and then Regan Slater. He's a future Hull captain if he stays there. He's a great player, centre mid. I mean, if you like your second tier football and that, he'd definitely be one that you would want in your team. But yeah, move on to Ipswich. Another one here. It's purely just picking two. Well, I say picking two names. One name is Sam Morsy, the Egyptian. Their Egyptian captain. I chose him purely. I mean, it's a bit different one. The revenue, from Egypt. He is an Egypt national player. He could potentially be going to Saudi Arabia. But then a left back, I'm picking from Ipswich, ex Leeds player Leif Davies, left back, 23 years old. I think he'll be in with a very good season. I would like to take him in. Like to bring him in. I mean, we can't. It would be around the same age that we got Aaron Cresswell, and I thought he was actually all right at Leeds when he played a few games there. But yeah, Leif Davies left back. I'd bring him in. I mean, we've got enough players there to nurture him into that team. We'll move on to Leeds. I mean, this one you're probably going to be like, have all the two players. You pick these two players. I could have easily gone Sinestra, Willie Nonto, Bamford. No, but I've chose the first one, centre back Charlie Cresswell. And again, if you're a fan of the second tier championship, you would have seen last season that Charlie Cresswell at Millwall was, I know, yeah, Millwall, but he was he was amazing, great centre half. And I'm surprised that no one has actually gone in for him yet from the Premier League. Like I know he was at Millwall, but I think Charlie Cresswell he's this season. I don't see him leaving, but this season you're going to see why I've chose Charlie Cresswell. And then another one is probably you might not know him, you might do is 17-year-old Archie Gray. Yeah, I'm hoping he breaks into the first team this year at Leeds. The thing if you watch him, like, I only do because I play a lot of Football Manager and I like to study players outside of the game. But he gives me the vibes. He does give me the vibes of James Milner and Lee Bowyer, and like that. He's a great player, and I can't wait to see him. Can't wait to see him. And the reason I want him, I would love to take him at West Ham again. Grow into it. Maybe we could find the next player for us who could lead the generation. Move on to Leicester. Two players, and again, I'm shocked. Right, Iheanacho, surprised no one's gone in for him. We were after him, but I think it's time we bring him into West Ham. Striker, we know he can score goals. It's just unlucky that he was on the team that was relegated. And Wilfred Ndidi, why has no one gone in for him? I've even put his name in Google. No one's even looking at him. I mean, not even Saudi Arabia teams looking at him. I'm thinking he'd be perfect the replacement for Rice. He always gave Rice a tough time, but yeah, Wilfred Ndidi, I'd bring him straight in. Moving on to Middlesbrough. So this one, I could have gone for Riley McGee or anyone, but I thought, you know what? After last season and watching him, can't remind me of Antonio, and it was Chuka Akpom, and I don't know why he went that way, but probably because of Michael Carrick being in charge, and he changed the way. Because when I watched him before Carrick, I mean, he was lazy, he didn't really take plays on. I mean, his shots were like here, there, and everywhere. But last season, yeah, he was at really good, and after that, I thought, you know what? Yeah, I could potentially take him, and he reminds me of a bit like Antonio. So that's my first pick from Borough. And the second pick is Hayden Hackney, the Scottish centre midfielder. He was brilliant last season, like to the point where I honestly thought they were they were going up. Like he was getting the ball from deep. He was running through, bringing it up. Long passes here, long passes there, short passes. He's doing the digging dirty work. I can honestly, he reminds me of Michael Carrick the way he plays. And if he can stay under Michael Carrick, well, you know what? Even if Moyes gets out, I take him in. I take a chance because if he can bring in players like that and do the nitty gritty stuff with them, there is no reason why Hayden Hackney could not be a world class player in years to come. Um, Move on to Millwall. Wasn't too many players here. If you're a Millwall fan or a Championship fan, Sion Fleming, yeah. I mean, I honestly, it reminds me of Ben Marmot, but it's just because he was probably their best player last season. And then, if you know about youth football, Romain Esse, keep an eye on this name, Romain Esse. He'll be breaking into the Millwall first team this season, and he's going to show you why I want him. He's a young player, 18. Played a few times last season, and he's shown a bit about him. And yeah, he'll definitely break in this season. Move on to Norwich. I don't know what's happened to Norwich, and the thing, but I'm taking Max Aaron. Just a given. I'm surprised he hasn't left yet already, but I feel like we need Max Aarons in because I mean, especially after the how he played in the Euro on 21 champion Euros, he can play left and right back. I thought he was just a right back. So the fact that he can do that, The same with Ben Johnson that we've got. It's depth as well. It's depth, and yeah, Max Aarons, I'd bring him in, and then a striker. I mean, last season I would have said Timo Pukki, but Josh Sargent. I don't know. There's something about him that I really like, and I honestly feel like he could do a job for us. Like he definitely would have been able to do a job for us if we had Big Sam in charge. Boys, he kind of does play the same kind of football, but in different ways. But Josh Sargent, yeah, I'd be bringing him in. Next up, we have Plymouth. Again, and not a lot of their players are good enough to come in. No offense to Plymouth, they've done a hell of a job last season. But Michael Cooper, the goalkeeper, just he is pretty young. He was probably one of their standout players last season. Yeah, he's a goalkeeper, but to be a standout player as a goalkeeper, it must mean something. And Ryan Hardy, just best player last season, and I had to pick another one. So Ryan Hardy, yeah, he would come straight in. Move on to Preston. Preston's a funny one with me. Every year, I always be like, yeah, they'd get relegated, and then they're always there. Here, they're around, they're always there, and it's two midfielders that I'm choosing. Alan Brown, just purely because he's a loyal servant for Preston. He's never played for another club. He's their captain. I wouldn't. I don't know. Sometimes I like to see a player that is just a one club man, but I would. I love his fight. I love his determination, and I would. He is old. He is quite an old. He is getting on. I say old. He's getting on, but Alan Brown and then Ben Whiteman. It's not really a standout player, but last season, him and Alan Brown, they worked really well together. And I thought, yeah, Ben Whiteman. I mean, he's not 26. I'd bring him in. Just yeah, you know what? Just more depth. I mean, a bit like the fact we've got Flynn Downs and that. Like, just a bit more championship depth in there. Maybe we could make something out of them. QPR. Lyndon Dykes for one, because he gives me vibes of Andy Cow. He gives me vibes of Colton Cole. He gives me vibes of Antonio, and he's one of them. He's a bruiser, and he'll knock you about. He'll grab one shot. He's one of them, and I like players like that. I like shockers like that, and they might not get the amount of goals that you want them to get, but yeah, Lyndon Dykes one for me. He's got a bit of West Ham about him, I feel. And the second player is Elias Chair. He I love watching him. He's another player like Adel Taarabt. He's a talisman. He's a very good talisman, and again, he's one of them. I'm surprised someone like Crystal Palace haven't picked him up or Aston Villa or something. But I'd take him. I'd take him along. Ben Rama, like kind of that kind of player. Like yeah, I'd bring him in. He's a hell of a player, and they're the two picks from QPR. We've got Rotherham. This again, it's just centre midfielder Ollie Rathbone, and then the goalkeeper Victor Johansson, because we need a goalkeeper. I haven't got too much to say on that behalf. Sheffield's Wednesday, same as them. It's just two players, Dominic Iorfa and Josh Windass, just because they were their best players, and it's more depth. It's just there's not really standout players, and there's no offense to them. It's just I don't think a lot of their players will get into the West Ham team. Move on to Southampton. Obviously, it's a given, James Ward-Prowse. I don't know what's going on with that deal now. We were meant to be getting him, we're now not getting him, we're walking away. I don't know what's going on with it, but James Ward-Prowse one, and then number two, it's Timo Livramento. I think he's amazing, and I think he might be. I've seen that he might be moving clubs. I can't remember where, but he'd be someone I'd be going in for. He was really good for Southampton before he got injured, and it's a bit of a hard one to take that he come back and then they got relegated. But he's a hell of a player. There was a reason he was on the Chelsea books as a youngster. There's a reason why Southampton bought him at a young age. But yeah, Tino Livramento, yeah, he's one I'd sign. Stoke, it's obviously we've got to go for Kevin Campbell's boy, Therese Campbell. We were after him 2 seasons ago, but then it fell to a dead end. But Tyrese Campbell, he's one of them. I hope he gets back to his best because after the ACL injury, he wasn't the same. But yeah, Tyrese Campbell, and then we've got another legend, a second generation, DiMaggio Wright Phillips, and I'm not just choosing him because his dad and his uncle were players of the game, and his granddad. Well, he's the third generation, sorry, and his granddad. I actually think this is going to be this is going to be his breakout season. He's a good winger. A lot of people are saying that he could potentially be better than his dad. I mean, if that is the case, then yeah, bring him in because yeah, another name to watch out for, DiMaggio Wright Phillips. Let's move on to Sunderland. I think this one again is more. I mean, I'd happily ask for Elise back. I would, but yeah, Ross Stewart. I've got a funny feeling he'll be in the Prem this season, before the transfer window. Ross Stewart and Patrick Roberts. I'm happy now he's finally got his break because he was on loan here, on loan there. Sometimes it didn't work out for him, but at Sunderland, the ball really fell to his feet this last season, and I hope that continues. And it's more, yeah, I would have him for depth because he is a good winger and he could definitely do something off the bench. Move on to Swansea, centre half, Ben Cambango. You know what? He's young, and I can see him be. I mean, I think he might even be their captain now, but he's going to be. I can definitely see him being the future Wales captain. I can see him. I can actually see him pushing on into playing in the Premier League. He's a good centre half. It's just not worked out for him getting that move. But if the managers they've got now, if they can push on, they could definitely be in it. But yeah, Ben Cambango, I take him, good centre half. You've got centre halves that could shoot him. Why not? And then Oliver Nitcham, former Man City, former Celtic, and then he went to Swansea. I honestly thought we were going to sign him when he was at Celtic. There were talks that West Ham were going to sign him, and then he made a shock move to Swansea. But yeah, Oliver Nitcham, he's a good player. I think he's a superb player, and I'm surprised he's still playing in the Championship or not playing in the French league or in the Dutch league or in the Premier League. But yeah, they're the two players. Two more teams left now. Watford, underpass season last season. But there was a standout player before he got injured who I would take, and that is Imran Louza. Louza, however you call it, he's not a loser. Imran Louza, Louza. Very good player on the ball. Technically gifted on and off the ball. I feel if he played a lot more games when Bilic was in charge, I do not feel he would have he would have not got sacked. They would definitely been pushing on up there, but that's one. And then we've got the young striker who can play left wing, left right wing. Yasser Asprilla. No, not the Asprilla from Newcastle Sun, but a 19-year-old Asprilla. Keep an eye out for him this season, especially now Yao Pedro's gone, especially now Sar's gone and all that. Keep an eye on for this player because he's going to be a standout one, and I hope he does well to the point where we make a move for him. And then the last but not least, a team I can't stand for some reason. I don't know. Just you hear the name West Bromwich Albion. To me, I just find the name so boring and bland. Obviously, no disrespect because I've had some hurt players, Jason Kumas, Rob Earnshaw, and players like that. But yeah. So the first pick is a talented winger, and I hope it works out for him this season because he was just starting to come into it. But Brandon Thomas Asante, I like watching him. He's one of them. Like I could have easily said, bring back Grady Diagana, but I thought they're similar. They are similar, and them on either side like that. That's a championship dream. If you was going to pick 11, so yeah, Brandon Thomas Asante, and then number 2 is Daryl DK. He's another player. He reminds me of a bit like Lyndon Dykes. He's one of them. He's American. He's a bit of brute force, and he was just starting to come into it last season. but it didn't work out as much as West Brom wanted to because they were quite low down. But yeah, I can definitely see them pushing on up there, especially with their manager who they got in charge, Carlos Corberán, because he's a good player and he can get that West Brom squad going again. But yeah, so that's my two-player pick from each championship team. Please like and share when it's uploaded, and I will be doing I will be doing the Premiership two-player pick next week. I just wanted to get this one out of the way because the season is starting this weekend coming. But yeah, you know the deal, guys. Please like and share and come on, you Irons.